Hi, everybody. How you all doing? Hopefully, you're having yourselves a great weekend. I'm back once again. We're going to try it one more time. We're going to try to get better than 70. Yeah, I'm aiming for 80% on the practice exam. As I said already, I am an amateur radio operator. My call sign is VA3FUC, but my call sign only allows me to do so much. In the Canadian Amateur Radio Association, or RAC, which is our AWR, which is the U.S. equivalent of the AWRL, according to Industry Canada, you have to score 80% or better to get full HF privileges. Now, I know in the States you guys have to have your extra to get full HF privileges. Over here, we don't. But when you get into that extra exam, or as we call the advanced exam, as it's known here, it's a lot. And when I mean a lot, I mean a lot of reading. So we're going to move this over to the other section here. Hey, Vince, how you been, buddy? Hopefully you're doing well. And we're going to get the basic practice exam set up. Application window. Okay, so let's get into this. Interesting. We'll start off with actually a hard one tonight. Okay, let's get into this. What kind of SWR reading may mean poor electrical connection between parts of an antenna system? Negative reading, very low reading, jumpy reading, no reading at all. Well, SWR would be a very high reading. So very low reading will probably not. I've never seen a negative reading on a chart before. A jumpy reading would have me a little concerned too. That was saying, like SWR was 1 and 2 and then 1 and 5. I'd be going, I'm going to say C, jumpy reading, but I have a feeling they're looking for the word negative, but I'm not sure. Nope, that's what they were looking for, was a jumpy reading. In the vacuum tube, oh, this is fun stuff. So in a vacuum tube, the element that is the furthest away from the plate is the blank. Filament, heater, the grid, the cathode, or the emitter. Oh boy. The element that's the furthest away from the plate. Now the filament, the actual heater, the actual filament that gets hot is in between, which is trapped in the vacuum tube. The grid, if I remember correctly, is what the filament sits on. So is it cathode or is the emitter? Or am I getting that mixed up? Is the grid? I think it's cathode, if I remember correctly. Somehow I feel like I got this wrong. I'm not really sure which one it is. If I would take a second guess, I would say grid. But everything in my thing is telling me cathode is the right answer. Well, I have a feeling I'm going to get this wrong, but let's see what happens. It's actually here. Huh? All right. I have to remember that next time. Resistance. So, what is the formula for resistance? So, is it, this is the way you can find out resistance in a circuit. Is it R equals I over E? Is it R equals E over E times I? Is it R E slash R? Or is it R E slash I? Now, if I remember correctly, it would not be I over E. I think it's E over I. R would be, because it would be energy, then R would be resistance, and then I would be, what does I stand for? And I know it. But if I remember correctly, I believe it is D, the formula R equals E over I. What is your responsibility as a station owner? This is one of the more simpler questions in the test, believe it or not. And I know that sounds kind of odd. Easy questions? Really? I is current. Thank you so much. Yeah, I couldn't remember what the I stood for. Thank you so much, Vince. I appreciate that. And if you're not following my friend 3D Make Vince, he has his own, I believe he shows off a lot of his stuff on video. That he's a maker like we are. Yeah, R is for resistance and E is for energy. E for power. That's right, power. Or like power and energy is the same type of meaning, wouldn't it be? But yeah, it uses Ohm's law, which is a formula for ohms, is the same formula for power. What's your responsibility as a station owner? So let's get this one. You must allow another amateur to operate on your station upon request. You must notify Insights Technology if another amateur acts as the controlling operator. You're responsible for the proper operation of the station according to the regulations. And then D, you must present whenever a station is operated. Well, it's actually D. You must be present with your station's always been is in operation. That's wow. Whoa. Okay. So they're saying C. That's interesting. Because also there's something that says in the book, you have to be present whenever your station's in operation. That's usually the answer I would go with. But they're looking for C. Interesting. Okay. Next one. Characteristics of an impedance of a 20-meter piece of transmission line is 52 ohms. 10 meters were cut off of the impedance would be 52 ohms. There's no difference on the length of the wire whenever you cut it. Ohms is ohms. So this falls into Ohm's law. Even though you're trimming the line, it does never affects your power of ohms. And it's day 52 ohms. We had this question in the last one we did. If your mobile transceiver works in your car but not at home, what should you check first? The SWR, the microphone, the power supply, or the speaker? Well, the power supply. Because it ain't getting power, it ain't working. Here's an interesting one. The instrument used for measuring the flow of electronic current is the voltmeter, wattometer, ammeter, or phadometer. Well, I never heard of a farad meter. No. Ampermeter? Maybe. But I don't think so. Watt meter? Or is it a voltmeter? Either, I don't think, we know it's not D. Amplimeter could be used, but I don't think that's what they're looking here for. Either they're looking for the volts or they're looking for the watts. Now, remember, I believe watts is the flow of electronic current. Oh, really? Amps is current? Watts is power, yeah. So an amplimeter would be the one? Let's have a look. Yeah, see, you're right. So amps is the current, that's right, because current, let's go back to my math. Let me go back to my theory here and just try to remember. Flow of current. Yeah, wattage is power. Amps is the, oh, yeah, okay. Right. Lowest loss of transmission line on HF is what has the lowest loss in a transmission line on HF? Is it a coax? Is it 75 ohm twin leads? Is it open wire line, or is it 300 ohm twin lead? Has the lowest loss. Open wire, I know, has an interesting loss capability. I don't think it's twin lead. Or is it? Each of these lines have their own purpose. And I know open wire line would be the wrong answer here. I believe that has the highest loss, if I remember correctly, because there's no shielding. Coaxial cable could have the lowest losses, but I'm trying to remember if the 300 ohm twin leads and the 75 ohm twin leads, if they have something to do with it too, because I know they can be used as an antennas for picking up signal, but I don't think they would work in this mode to have the strongest protection. Nope, open wire. So I would have been right to go with open wire. Oh yeah, open wire has the lowest. That's right, open wire does have the lowest loss of transmission on HF, but because open wire, anything that attaches to it can cause electrical interference in circuit. That's right. I'm thinking of the most safety precautions that can be done. But open wire, what it is basically, it's wire without any shielding or anything, but it has to be totally straight. So any wind or anything that could hit it can cause it to short. Boom, gone. In designating of the HF station, which components would you use to reduce effects on harmonic radiation? An SWR bridge. B, low pass filter. D, dummy load. D, antenna switch. I think we had this question before, and I believe it was dummy load that came in the answer, but I don't believe so. Because we want to reduce the effects of harmonics, and harmonics are usually go to the lower end. So a low pass filter would probably block those out in the transmission line. It's not feeling like dummy load, but low pass filter here. Yeah, that's what I thought. Low pass filter. There's another question similar to this where it's dummy load. That's why I was a little confused by that. That's one. Yes. Oh god, I hate this one. So when using Amtor transmissions, there are two modes that may be utilized. Mode A uses automatic repeater request, ARQ protocol, and is normally used all the time. B mode is for testing purposes only. When making a general call, for communication after the contact has been established, or D, when communication has been completed. If I remember correctly, can't remember if it's after it's been established or if it's making the general call. I don't think it's done when it's completed. I think it's when it's established. Yep. These are the hard ones. It's ones I haven't ran into in a long time. Difference between DC input power and RF output power of a transmission amplifier. Okay, difference between DC input power and RF output of a transmitter. The RF amplifier is A, lost in the transmission line, B, appears to be heat dispatched, D, due to isolation, or D, radiation from the antenna. Well, RF appears as heat dissipation. If an amplimeter marks in the amplimeter used to measure 300 milliampere current, what reading would it show? 3 amps, 0.003 ampemeters, 3 million ampemeters, or 0.3 ampemeters. Well, the milliamp, that means it's a million off. Oh, 3,000 milliampemeters. Oh, okay. Is that over? Or is that under? By the looks of it, it looks like this is below. So yeah, that's what I was thinking. I was thinking 0.3. No, 3 amp meters. Thinks of battery packs. Yeah. No, I think 0.3 also, actually, to tell you the truth, Vince. I was trying to remember the mathematics because it's like for our scale, we have, is it above the milliamp or are we talking below the milliamp? I was trying to remember, is it above or below? Above or below? But if it's 3 amp meters, that's, I thought it was 0.3. A signal is composed of the fundamental frequency of 2 hertz and another 4 hertz. This 4 hertz signal is referred to as yeah. Yeah, 390 milli would be 0.3. Yeah. Well, math. Would be 300? Oh, okay. Okay, so the signal is composed of a fundamental frequency of 2 hertz and another of 4 hertz. The 4 hertz signal is referred to as DC component of the main signal, B, a direct signal of the main signal, C, a fundamental of the 2 kilohertz signal, or D, the harmonics of a 2 hertz signal. Now, if I remember correctly, harmonics would give a 4. I'm not sure about that signal. This one right here. This kind of sounds right. It should be mobile. You don't have to, give me answers that you think it is, but it is appreciated. But when we're doing the exam, we got to remember this all in our heads. So it's more of I got to remember the mathematics that go into this. But I'm thinking harmonics of a 2 hertz signal. That's a harmonic of a 2 kilohertz signal can be stronger than the actual signal that goes out. I've heard of that happening. But is it a fundamental of the 2 hertz signal? Could be the fundamental of a 2 hertz signal. The diuretic of a signal of the main signal? I don't know. I'm thinking the harmonic by the sounds of it. D. But I'm feeling maybe A. No, it's D. On UHF VHF bands, polarization of a receiving antenna is very important in relation to the transmission of an antenna. Yet on HF bands, it is relatively unimportant. Why is that so? The ionosphere can change the polarization of a signal from moment to moment. The greater selectivity is possible when HF receives the making changes in the polarization redundance. The ground wave and sky wave continuously shift polarization. Anomalies in the Earth's magnetic field produces a profound effect on HF polarization, but not on VHF UHF frequency. Well, no, it's not D. The greater sensitivity is possible with HF receivers, making the change in polarization redundant. The ionosphere can change polarization signal from moment to moment. That is somewhat true because of the charge it has. But it doesn't affect, I don't think it affects the polarization. I don't think ground waves and sky waves actually do anything to shift the signal. I'm going to say it's probably D. B. It's actually A. Okay. Interesting. Oh, this is the fun ones. These are the ones where they throw boom, 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 and you have to remember which order this goes into. In a frequency modulator, the receiver is blank between the mixer and internal frequency amplifier. A, filter. B, radio frequency amplifier. C, frequency discriminator. Or D, limiter. The filter can be between the mixer and the intermediate frequency amplifier. Wouldn't be a radio frequency amplifier. Wouldn't be a frequency discriminator, I don't believe, because then you have the frequency amplifier right there. Limiter. Limiter could be the answer there too. Either it's A or it's D. My feelings is it's filter. Yeah, filter. And limiter didn't sound right. Limiter sounded like it was in the wrong place because limiters are usually in receivers, not transmitters, or it's vice versa. I can't remember. But the way it just didn't, limiter didn't feel right. It felt like that was filter. DC power input, an anode or a collector, circuit to the final RF stage of the transmitter used by a holder of an amateur radio operator certificate with advanced qualifications cannot exceed 750 watts, 1,000 watts, 250 watts, or 500 watts. Okay, so the advanced qualification gives you allowance to use more power. But how much more power is it? Is it 1,000? Or is it D, 500? I know under a basic amateur radio certificate, I'm only allowed 200 watts of power. I know people that do moon bouncing, which you have to have advanced qualification because it requires over 250 watts of power. So the question is it 1,000 watts or is it 500 watts? I think it's 1,000 if I remember correctly. Yeah, 1,000. The default public consultation process for an antenna system requires the proponents to address all questions and comments concerned and raised. Reason and relevant concerns providing the wiring within a 30-day public comments period. Comments reported to the media reporting on the proposal. Or D, opposition to the project. A, all questions, comments, and concerns raised. Actually, it's B, reasonable and relevant concerns. Providing with writing within 30 days to the public commence hearing. Okay. That's what they were looking for. I thought it was all. To be honestly, purposely truthful, that's why I thought it was all. But in some cases, it has to be in writing. And that's the one thing I forgot to look at. Writing in or has to be mailed in. I forgot about that. What kind of antenna transmission line can be constructed using two conductors which maintain a union distance apart from using insulated spreaders? .300 ohm twin lead if I remember correctly. 75, or it's going to be 25, or it's going to be 300. Oh, 600. Okay. A communication receiver has 4 filters installed in it. It is specially designed as 250 hertz, 500 hertz, 2.4 hertz, and 6 kilohertz. Sorry, 2.4 kilohertz and 6 kilohertz. If you were listening to a single sideband, which the filter would utilize, (500 hertz), be A, B, C, or D. A being 2.4 kilohertz, B 250 hertz, C 6 kilohertz, or D 500 hertz. I want to say A. A sounds like it would be the best answer. Well, let's go with A. You know, it could be wrong. No, A is correct. In a single sideband receiver, the CW receiver is the blank, is in between the mixer and immediate frequency amplifier. A, the filter, B, the production detector, C, the radio frequency amplifier, or D, beat frequency oscillator. Well, that's obvious. It's going to be the beat frequency oscillator. That's what makes your dits and das. Nope, they're looking for filter again. Really? In between the mixer and the immediate frequency amplifier? Huh. Because the beat frequency oscillator is used to make your dits and das. Oh, receiver, not transmitter. That's right. Because if you're receiving, then you need oscillator. Oh, brother. To make your call signal better understood when using voice transmissions, what should you do? Well, not talk louder. That would make you a modulation. Turn up your microphone gain. That will not help. It's D. Use standard procedures. Use standard international phonetics for your call side. That's the only one that makes sense out of all of them. Units and decibels are used to indicate an ionoscope waveform, a signal sideband signal, a mathematical ratio, or certain radio waves. See, I know decibels as audio, like how loud the audio format is. In this, they're talking about the transmission signal. Say certain radio waves. Nope, mathematical ratio is what they were looking for. Damn. Oh, lightning arrestor. Okay. Where should it be on your transmission line? Where would you insert it? Close to the antenna, outside close to earth ground as possible, behind the transceiver, anywhere on the line. Well, electricity would take the. This is something to keep in mind. Electricity always takes the less route of resistance. So it will want to head to ground. So outside closest to ground, we give it the distance it needs to push all its energy down to ground. So it'd be ground. So, this is an interesting one. What organizer has published safety guidelines for the maximum limits of RF energy near the human body? Would that be Health Canada, Environment Canada, Transport Canada, or the Canadian Standards Association? Well, I can understand Health Canada being in charge of it, but Health Canada, Environment Canada, and Transport Canada no longer are in charge of this. If they put down, safety regulations, innovation transmission, innovation, Canada, it might took that. But I have a feeling it's the Canadian Standards Association actually controls RF. Nope, it's Health Canada by mistake. Voltage drops means a difference in voltage output in the terminals of the transformer. Voltage developed across the terminal leads of a component. Any point in a radio circuit which has zero voltage, or D, the voltage is dissipated before the useful work is accomplished. Well, the voltage drops, so that means less voltage, which means a difference in the voltage output. A voltage develops across the terminals of a component? What? Yeah, that's what you say. What question are we at? 26. And how many have we gotten right? 14. Ugh. Yeah, this is going to be a fail. On one operation of frequencies below 148 megahertz, a frequency stabilization of the transmitter must be at least 2 parts per million over a period of 1 hour. The bandwidth for any emission must not exceed 3 hertz. The frequency stabilization must be comparable to crystal controlled, or an overmodulation, or an overmodulation indicator must be used. I think it's A. Nope, it was C. I think crystal, but I didn't go that way. Oh well. Technically, guys, by the time I finish this, I've already failed this exam. Already with 14 wrong, 14 right. That's like half the exam is wrong. So technically, I would have failed this by now. So not really worth writing anymore, but we're going to do it anyways. If a neighborhood reports television interference on 2 channels when you transmit on 15 meters, what's the relative cause of the interference? The isolation of the astronosphere in your neighborhood? TV receiver front end overload? Harmonic radiation from your transmitter? Or too much low pass filtering on the transmitter? Well, causes the TV receiver front end is getting overloaded because you're sending too much power. through transmission. It's actually harmonic radiation from your transmitter. From your transmitter is the actual answer. Stations, logs, and confirmation QSL cards are always kept in UTC, Universal Time Coordinate. Where is this time based? Is it in Switzerland, Ottawa, Canada, Newark, Connecticut, or Greenwich, England? Well, we know that one is Greenwich. Universal Standard Time. Time and date border. Spacing between the elements of a 3-element Yagi antenna representing the best overall choice is blank of a wavelength. .10, .20, .50, .750. Is it 10 or is it 20? I believe it's 20 if I remember correctly. Yeah, 20. What is the word used to describe the rate of which electrical energy is used? Resistance, current, power, or voltage? I believe it was current if I remember correctly. Nope, they were looking for C, power. Bandpass filter will achieve high frequencies but not low, allow a certain frequency through, stop frequencies in a certain band, or pass frequencies through each other's sides of the band. Stop frequency in a certain band. No, they were looking for C. No, they were looking for B, I should say. Allowing certain frequencies through. But a band pass filter means you're banning a band. Weird. Okay, let's see this one. Why would you use a dummy load? To reduce power output, to test or adjust your transceiver without causing interference, to give a comparative signal port, or it's faster to tune. Well, actually, it's to adjust your transmitter so you're not causing interference. Here's some more theory. Fun. I suck at theory. If a certain impedance of a foldable dipole is approximately 300 ohms and you're using RG8U, 50 ohm coaxial line, what is the ratio required to have the line and the antenna match? Is it 2-1, 10-1, 6-1, or is it 1-4? Let me think. Well, how many of the 300 go into 50? 10-1 sounds too high. Because 50 ohms times by 10 will not give it 300. 6-1? 6-1 if I remember correctly. Yep, 6-1. Looks like we're starting to get hang of this now. Intermodulation in a broadcast receiver by a nearby transmitter would be noted in the receiver as an undesired signal in the background, interference continually across the dial, interference only when broadcasting signals are tuned in, or distorted transmission peaks. Intermodulation in a broadcast receiver. So as it's broadcasting out, you're hearing a signal coming in. So that would be interference across the dial. Nope. Undesired signal in the background of desired signal. Okay. That I can get behind. In free space, what is the radiation characteristics of a half-wave dipole? Maximum radiation of all 75-degree angles plane on the antenna. Omnidirectional. Maximum radiation from ends, minimizing broadband, or minimized radiation to end maximum broadcast. Half-wave dipole is a half-wave. It's omnidirectional, if I remember correctly. Nope. Maximum radiation from the ends, maximizing broadcast. Broadside. In Morse code transmission, local RF interference key clicks is produced by at the power amplifier, currently the high frequency parasitic oscillator, the making and breaking of the circuit in the Morse key, frequency shifting causing poor voltage regulation or poor waves caused by poor voltage equalizations. Well, it's actually B. The fee for amateur radio off certificate is free, 10, 32, or 24. If I remember correctly, it's free. I know in the States, it's $15 for you guys to get your license. For us, it's free. How are VHF signals propagated within the range of a visible horizon? By plane waves, by sky waves, by geometric wave, or by direct wave? Now, it's not sky wave and it's not plane wave. I would say ground wave would probably be it, but ground wave is not either. Is it geometric wave or is it direct wave? Well, VHF is line of sight, so I'm going to say maybe direct wave. Yep, direct wave is what they were looking for. So to replace a faulty 10 millihertz choke, you could use a 20 millihertz choke in series, 5 millimeter choke in series, 5 millimeter choke in parallel, or 30 millimeter choke in parallel. Well, the 20 would be too big. We understand 30 would be too large. Since we're dealing with milliampage and this has all been millihenries. Could be 5. It's done in series or done in parallel. I'll say series. Yeah. Parallel, even though if it's a parallel circuit, it will split off, so each of them will only get 5, and that would be wrong. You want a full 10. So what would cause what would pause briefly between transmission when using a repeater? To check SWR, to dial the repeater auto patch, to listen for anyone else using the frequency, to reach for the pencil and paper for third-party communication. Well, let's listen to see if anybody else wanting to use the repeater. One of the following communications may not be transmitted in the amateur service. Morse code, a brief transmission to make adjustments to your station, broadcast in defy of general public, or radio communication control to model craft. Well, we are a service of amateur radio, so I'm going to say probably I'm going to say for broadcast intended for the general public, because, well, it's all we're allowed to do. So only answer that matches this. Actually, I'm going to take these off so I don't need them and concentrate a little bit more. At the end of a suspended antenna wire, insulators are used. These act to limit the electrical length of the antenna, increase the effective of the antenna length, allow the antenna to be more held vertically to prevent loss of radio waves by the antenna. To limit electrical length of the antenna, or is it the increased effectiveness? Well, I don't know how the insulators affect, but it's to limit. But to limit the electrical length. Because it's energy, heat, dissipation, that type of stuff. So the insulators are either they're made out of porcelain or plastic. Let me see if I can find one. Insulator. Here's one that's commonly used. It's something like this or like these. They're used, we use them for, say, if you want to do like a inverted V. So an inverted V would be when we have a wire going up to a balun, another line going up to the balun, and the balun would be there. And to make that V straight, you might have, say, an insulator at one end of the line over here. You might have another one at the other end here. Tie a little bit of rope, bang it down to the ground, tie a little rope, bang it into the ground to make that V. That's just so you can make it, so you can get it nailed down or tied to a tree or whatever without interfering with the antenna's impedance. One of the following is not considered to be a communication on behalf of a third party, even though the message originated by an address to a non-amateur. All messages originated by a Canadian amateur radio station, messages addressed to points of Canada from the United States, messages that are handled within a local network during simulated emergency exercises, messages originating from the United States Army Auxiliary Radio System, otherwise known as MARS. Okay. Which of the following is not considered a communication on behalf of a third party, even though the message may originate by or addressed by a non-amateur? I believe it's D, but I have a feeling that's not correct. I have a feeling it's maybe C, but I'm not 100% sure on this one. But I think has something to do with Mars just feels right here. And it is Mars. How long is the average sunspot cycle? Well, that's just really interesting. Is it 11 years, 5 years, 17 years, or 7 years? Hey, VE3, TGL. How you doing, buddy? Well, we already know that right now, what's interesting right now is we know it's a 12-year cycle. Sorry, 14-year cycle for sunspots. We know this. It's something that we know. In the middle is 7 years. So we know the answer is D, 7. Because that's when the average sunspot starts and dies. Or are they talking about, and none of them say 14 years, so submit. No, A. Oh, I think I know what it means. So what they're looking for was when it starts to when it ends. My mistake. My bad. How does the bandwidth of a folded dipole antenna compare with a simple dipole antenna? It is 707 times the bandwidth. It's less than 50%. It's great. It is greater. It is essentially the same. How does the bandwidth of a folded dipole antenna compare to with a simple dipole antenna? Essentially the same, if I remember correctly. It is greater. Okay, I'm gonna have to look that one up. That's actually something I'm gonna have to find out about. A folded dipole antenna would be, you'd think would be, but same. Apparently, it's not. So I have to look that question up and study that again. But nothing I can't easily do. For you to make the regulations, government's communication is a diversion of the radio communication. Now, this is the fun one. So, is it the Radio Communication Act? Is it by the UTC regulation, the standard of operation of in the amateur radio service, or the radio communication regulations? Okay. Well, we know it's not the TUI because this is not a thing. We know this is not a thing either. Either it will be the communication regulation or it's the Radio Act. Let's say it's a Radio Act. Yep. 9 out of 10 times it is this one right here. I love you saying I suck. I'm like, yeah, I don't suck, man. You know what? It was my fault too. I thought I was thinking, how the cycles of the sun works. And yeah, I goofed. You didn't goof. I goofed. The Canadian Amateur Radio operating his station in the state of Florida is subject to which frequency band limits? UTC Regulation 1, ITU Region 3, Region 2. All those applications apply to U.S. radio amateurs. Well, actually, no. If you're operating your station in Florida, you're subject to Regulation 1. No. What? That makes sense. So then why? Okay. That makes absolutely no sense because the ITU Regulation 1 is affected by when I answered this question before, I went with Regulation 2 and said Regulation 1. If I'm broadcasting off the state of Florida, it says, no, you have to follow in the state's regulation limit. What the? Interesting. One of those trick questions again. Hate those questions. Which component can properly amplify a small signal using low voltage? A PNP transmitter, a variant resistor, electrolyte capacitor, or multi-cell battery? Well, a variable resistor is resisting, so I doubt that. A multiple cell battery? That would be pretty big, I would think. A PNP transistor? Oh, I don't think so. An electrolytic capacitor. Now, electrolytic capacitors can store energy and then release them. So, can amplify a small signal using low voltage. I'm going to see is probably the electrolytic capacitor, but I could be wrong. Nope, just looking for the PNP. Yeah, I know. Transistor. I thought about that after I answered it. Oh, yeah, transistor, yeah, would produce it. Yeah, that's right. I was thinking because electrolytic capacitor can store electricity and release electricity. That's why I was thinking of that factor. Yeah, transistor equals amps. Yep. Just my bad. Which is the best method to tell if a band is open for communication with a particular distance location? A, look at the propagation forecast in amateur radio magazines. B, telephoning experience local amateur. C, listen for signals in the area of the amateur beacon stations for a foreign broadcast or television station nearby frequency. Ask others at local 2-meter FM repeater. So looking at a propagation forecast for amateur radio magazines, yeah, no. Telephoning and experienced local amateur, yeah, that could work, but they couldn't tell you yes or no. They could probably tell you, yeah, I can hear the band. The band does sound open. So, yeah, you can do that. Listen for signals in the areas of the amateur beacon station for foreign broadcast of television stations or nearby frequencies. I would say you want to listen for a beacon because, yeah, I'm thinking C makes the most sense because it really asked people on a 2-meter FM repeater with no one's there to answer your question. I'm thinking C. C just makes the most logical sense. And it is C. Voltage regulation is the principal application of the blank. Light emitting diode, Zener diode, junction diode, vacuum diode. Well, we know the answer for this one because I got this last time. It is definitely not light emitting diode. That's what I was thinking the first time, was light emitting, because of the path. But it's actually the xenon diode, if I remember correctly. It controls voltage regulation in the principal application. And B is correct. I've had that question before. It goofed me up the first time I looked at it, and goofed me up again because I'm thinking, wait a minute, voltage regulation. Well, the voltage is not. I've heard of people using light bulbs to regulate power. So I was thinking, like a light bulb, like the light bulb idea, like to do a scale. You plug in an item, you have your light bulbs absorb the energy, and then you undo each light bulb slowly to increase its power to the radio, like what a Scarab would do. And that's why I was thinking light emitting diode. But yeah, it is the Z. Is the xenon diode. Yeah, I can't speak tonight. Blech. Let's just keep it at B. The source of a field effect transmitter corresponds to the blank of a bipolar translator, I guess. Is it A, collector, B, drain, C, emitter, or D, base? Yeah, they use Zener when they're building power supplies. That is true. So with this one, field effect translator components to the bipolar translator. Is it the collector or is it an emitter? Bipolar. So that means it's the opposite of what it would be. Okay. No, emitter. Yeah, no, I was thinking either, like, to be honest, emitter was kind of sticking out there, but I went, or is it collector? I just couldn't remember which one was it. Is it collector or is it emitter? And I was thinking emitter. I was definitely saying emitter, but I went with collector on that one. You're guessing C? Yeah. I should have went with C. Like someone was saying C. C. Answer, it's emitter. It's emitter. And I double guessed myself on that one. I should have went with emitter. At a 100% efficiency transformer has turned ratio 1.5 if the secondary current is 50 milliamps. The primary current is 1/5 of 50. Is it 0.01 amps, 250 milliamps, 0.25 amps, or 0.25 milliamps? Okay, this is where I suck. My mathematics, when it comes to electricity, sucks royally. But I'm just going to take a wild guess. I double guess myself again. Oh crap, man. I was right. I gotta stop doing my double guessing on me. 0.25. Yes. Amps, not milliamps, amps. I feel like dort. Oh, you gotta be kidding me. I went back to 1. Shoot. Next. Oh, somehow it reset the exam. I guess I hit one of the buttons and sent it back to the beginning of it. I hate when that happens. Somehow it got reset. So let's read question number 1. So at the end of a suspended antenna wire, the insulation used to act to these is to increase the effective length of the antenna, to allow the antenna more easily to be held vertically, to limit the electrical length of the antenna, which we know is C, submit. With a parallel coiled capacitor combination is applied with AC of different frequencies, which will be the one frequency where the impedance will be the highest This is the reasonable frequency, inductive frequency, impedance frequency, or reactive frequency. Resonant, if I remember correctly. Yep. Yeah, ouch is right. What kind of SWR readings report electrical contact between the antenna and system? Jumpy reading. Submit. Next. What's the correct way to call CQ when using voice? This should be an easy one. We all know this. Is it A, say CQ at least 5 times, followed by this is, followed by your call sign spoken once? Say CQ 3 times, followed by this is, followed by your call sign spoken 3 times. Say CQ 10 times, followed by this is, and then spoken twice. Or say CQ once, this is followed by, nah. That's why you don't hear, that's why people say CQ, 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 and state their call sign. Which of the following exceptions of the under the Act of Dominance intercession information obtained through radio communication from other broadcasts? Oh, this is a fun one. Where there is no proven information, or is proven information for a journalist. When the purpose of giving evidence in a criminal or civil proceedings, a person requires given evidence. where the general purpose of preserving and protecting properties, prevention of harm to a person. When it's on behalf of Canada for the purpose of for the internal, national, or national defense and security. Whenever it provides information for a journalist, I think is the answer we're looking here for, because I think any of these would be okay, if I remember correctly. Yep. An amateur transmitter is being heard across the entire dial of a broadcast receiver. The receiver is mostly suffering from harmonic interference from a transmitter, splatter from the transmitter, auto reflecting in the receiver, or pro image rejection. Well, harmonic interference from a transmitter would be splatter from the transmitter, or audio reflecting in the receiver. I think it's splatter, if I remember correctly. Nope, it's C, reflective. Audio reflection. I thought it was splatter, but well. A flexible coax line contains A, 4 or more conductors running parallel, B, only one conductor, C, braided shield conductor and insulation around the center conductors, or D, 2 parallel conductors separated by a spacer. Oh, they're looking for braided shielding. Okay. A change of the variation signal strength of antenna caused by different path lengths is called fluctuation, acceleration, path loss, or fading. For mercury, this thing is called fading. Yep. Which examiner must be passed before an amateur radio operator certificate is issued? Basic. Which is what I have. Which of the following collectors has the lowest loss of U at UHF? An F-type cable, a BNC connector, a PL259 connector, or an A-type N connector? I think it's a PL259, if I remember correctly. Nope. An A-type N connector. I've never heard of the A-type N connector. Huh. The distance traveled by a ground wave is the same as for all frequencies, is less than a higher frequency, depends on the maximum usability frequency, is more at higher frequencies. It's more at higher frequencies, if I remember correctly. Nope, it's less at higher frequencies. I thought it was always farther, depending on the height, because the bounce would change that immensely, I guess. The department that is responsible for administration of the Radio Communication Act is Communication Canada, National Defense. No, it's D. Innovation, Science, Technology of Canada. Blah, 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 blah. Do. What does an RST 459 mean in Morse code contact? Oh, God. Okay, this has something to do with signal strength. I know that much. Your signal is very readable, very weak, and with perfect tone. Your signal is readable, very strong, with perfect tone. Your signal is quite readable, fair strength, with perfect tone. Your signal is moderately readable, very weak, with hum and tone. Well, I don't think it's this one, D. 959 would probably be perfect tone, but barely readable, very weak, with perfect tone. Oh, geez. The 59 I would think would be perfect tone. 4-5 would be readable, may weak. Yeah, I'm thinking A. No, quite readable. Okay. Fair strength with perfect tone. Additional to complying with the Radio Communication Act regulation in Canada, Canadian radio amateur must also comply with the regulations of the Internal Communication Union, Radio Amateurs of Canada, Inc., International Amateur Radio Union, or the American Radio Relay League. The ARRL? Nope. International Amateur Radio Union? The IARU? I think it's the Radio Amateurs of Canada. No, the International Communication Union. Okay. Yes, this one. I love this question. In a 3-element directional antenna, the blank is not the longest nor the shortest in the radiating elements. Would that be the reflector, director, driven element, or D, the boom? Well, definitely not the boom. The reflector is the shortest. No, sorry, the director is the shortest. The reflector is the longest. Is a driven element is the one that we're looking for here. So it'd be D, driven element. It's the middle of the two. What is the word used to describe the rate of which electrical energy is used? Is it power, current, voltage, or resistance? I think it's voltage, if I remember correctly. Because current, power, no, it was power. Thinking, I kind of said, oh, maybe it's power. Nope. I went back to what I thought it was, and that, no, it's power. That's what they were looking for. Sometimes these questions can be a little bit misleading because they don't really tell you what they're looking for exactly. And after this, we're probably going to call it. How is the voltage in DC current? How is the voltage in a DC circuit calculated when the current and resistance are known? Voltage equals current multiplied by resistance. Voltage equals current divided by resistance. Voltage equals resistance divided by current, or voltage equals power divided by current. Okay, so we know the current and resistance is known. So voltage is equal to multiply and resistance, but we don't know. I think that's it. Voltage equals current multiplied by resistance. That's the one that I was thinking it is. I know one of them is times, and I think that's current because it would be P, then there'd be this would be current times resistance. Yeah. The call sign amortization must be sent once after initial contact, every 15 minutes, every minute, at the beginning and end of each exchange of communication, at least every 30 minutes while in the communication. D. In the States, it's every 15 minutes, believe it or not. That's why if you ever talk to a U.S. station, you'll hear them say their call sign every 15 minutes, where we only have to say ours every half hour, which is kind of nice. Then you can actually have a conversation without watching your clock too much. Radio apparatus must be placed in operation, repaired, or maintenance by a holder of an amateur radio operation certificate with advanced qualifications on behalf of another person, if the other person is a holder of an amateur radio operation certificate to operate on amateur radio service. Pending grant of a radio authorization in the apparatus covering the amateur and communication frequency band. Pending the granting of an amateur radio operator certificate if the apparatus covers the amateur radio frequency bands only. D, if the transmitter of the station for which radio authorization is to be applied for the typical approval and crystal control. We know it's not D for sure. According to this, only another person with an amateur radio operator license can have an amateur operator of the event set up a station, help them set up a station. So it would be A. The maximum percentage of module permitted to use radio telephy by amateur radio station is 75%, 50%, 100%, or 90%. The maximum percentage of modulation permitted to use $75. 100%. Oh, okay. So the way that they were wording that, I misunderstood that. Anyways, like I said, I'm going to kill it here because we lost the exam and I don't feel like spending another 2 hours writing this again. But we got 20 out of 12 this time. So 12 out of 20 is what percentage? So let's have a look and do this in the calculator. So 12 divided by 20 is a percentage of... Oh, that's not right. Clear. So 20 divided by 12 equals... Nope, that's not it either. Oh, yeah, clear. So that is 20 divided by 12 times by 100. 8.3%. Yeah, I'm not getting the right answer I'm looking for. All I know is that something that I like about when you finish an exam is when it shows up what information pops up. But because I didn't answer this fully and because time's limited and such, I'm going to call it here. Thanks for watching. Fortunately, we didn't get to finish this. Unfortunately, these things happen, but what can you do? But anyways, guys, we're going to try this again. I'm not sure when or whenever I'm going to get around to it, but if you're interested in supporting what we're doing, well, let's see here. You can always go to PayPal. You can go to PayPal / CMP VA3FUC. CMP is one channel I run, which is Canadian Maker Project, where I do 3D printing and try to help you with your 3D printing stuff, which I've been kind of weak on there, but yep, we got that happening. So if you want to go there and you want to help support me, you're welcome to. You don't have to. I'll still continue making these videos. Anyways, everyone, thank you so much for watching. I do appreciate it. And I'll catch you guys on the next one. Hopefully, maybe we'll do this every Friday or Monday. I'm debating right now because I also have my Twitch stream that I've been doing lately, and I've been really enjoying that. But I want to start doing these more often, like once a week, and just start powering through these questions and just get myself better and better as time goes on. So, I might just do a couple by myself, quiet, not posted. I might do a couple posted. I do have a review coming up soon. I got the ICOM A51. I'm not going to do a review on the radio. Okay. The reason I have this radio is to see what I think about D-Star and give you guys my report of what I feel about D-Star. Do I feel it's good? Do I feel it's weak? Do I feel there's a purpose for it, or is there no purpose for it? That is why I have the D-Star radio here. It's just to test D-Star and see what I feel. But guys, thank you so much for watching. Have yourselves a great one. I'll catch you on the next one.